Hi, welcome to the channel. So I'm sitting down and finally reacting to a Beer Biceps podcast that you guys asked me to react to probably close to a year ago. This is Major Vivek Jacob again, Para-SF Special Indian Military Legend. And because of the length of this, I will probably break it into 4 parts. Let's get to it.
It happened to this young man and he had a head-on contact, and that guy, fired first. The bullet basically hit his bulletproof, and the bulletproof collapsed, cracked his skull with such impact that his eye popped out and was basically hanging here. And this guy, after that, killed that guy.
Really?
Yeah.
With the eye popping out.
Yeah. I was staring into the darkness. There was a particular place I had to look at, and I was just constantly just looking at that and waiting. So my buddy was asleep, and maybe hour and a half had passed, and I was just waiting, and I heard some noise right next to me. So I switched on my night vision goggles and I turned to look, and I saw this leopard sitting right next to me. And that's the first time I saw a leopard.
AJIO presents TRS is back with a military episode after the longest time. This armed forces niche on TRS began with this man, Major Vivek Jacob. He gave us some incredibly intense conversations when he was on the show the last time. This conversation was actually a 4-hour long recording. So what you're seeing is a slightly edited down, slightly crunched down version, primarily because a lot of military stories and military perspectives shouldn't be put on the internet in their rawest form. But when it comes to these military perspectives, I believe that the special forces of India, which are the commandos or the highest efficiency part of the Indian armed forces, these human beings have lived a very different life. They've gone about their operations, they've gone about multiple combat situations and become a different format of being human. Major Vivek Jacob himself is one of the most respected special forces veterans. Some people consider him one of the most fierce and battle-hardened soldiers that India has ever produced. This conversation was an extremely deep dive into his mind and his heart. We tried to figure how he has achieved it in style in his own military career. We got to know a lot of extremely heavy perspectives as well. This particular podcast is not the easiest listen. That's the cautionary input I'll give you at the start of this episode. What I will say is that TRS's military episodes are always memorable. It's always very heavy for me as a podcaster. I hope you enjoy this one. Major Vivek Jacob, my God. Happy to see you, sir.
Same here, man.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to our space.
Different space, same story.
So many people have watched the 2 episodes we did way back. It was my first ever military podcast that I did with you. Couldn't have asked for a better guest, honestly. But I was a rookie at that point. I was a rookie podcaster, didn't know much about the military to even navigate through the conversation. And honestly, I was extremely intimidated then. So today, I think we're going to have a much more open-ended, casual, opened-up conversation, sir.
Roger.
Yeah. How are you, sir?
Getting along so far, so good.
Yeah. How are you different from the last time we spoke?
Well, let go of a lot of things since then. So it's, at some point it's about collecting things, and then at some point it becomes about letting things go. So we're letting go chal raha hai.
Okay. You mean like memories or?
No, not memories, concepts, perceptions about what reality is and, how to address it. And at the end of the day, it's like, the rivers, from the mountains always flow down to the sea. So it, then from the sea, then it comes, it goes into vapor and goes into clouds, and the clouds form rain, and it's a cycle, So letting go of concepts, and concepts are what bind you. So, and you struggle with those bindings. So at some point you realize that, there's a journey to understanding, and then from understanding, there's a journey to realization. So, or realization of what is, and to fully absorb that, and then live life in a blissful, heavenly manner.
There are only 2 groups of people who talk at this frequency: monks and special forces veterans.
Acha, okay.
I've always noticed
similarity
this. You're one of the Special Forces veterans who is ready to talk about this at the start of a conversation. Usually they warm up, and at the end of the conversation, they'll talk about consciousness and things which are beyond our realm. But you start right from the top. My gauge with you, and this is not me as a podcaster, honored to call you a friend,
Yes,
a brother.
of course.
I feel like my big brother has learned a lot in his Special Forces education, but I also feel your personality has been educated because of the battlefield. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, absolutely. Not only just the battlefield, whatever I am today, or whatever I think I am today, and from there, how I live my life is a culmination from birth to now. So it's a combination of the information you're carrying in your DNA, then the experiences you have from your childhood, and then when you get into a professional life, whichever life you choose. In my case, it was the SF. So in the SF, then there are experiences, and then when you come out from all that, you look back and reflect, and then there's the patterns that emerge.
Okay.
So yeah.
I think everyone can say that about themselves. You are what's in your DNA as well as your experiences.
The reason I'm interrupting you right now is because there are new listeners on the show who probably haven't heard our past 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming by this point, most people know what Special Forces are.
So the first Special Forces episode, The Mindset, that's the one I reacted to, and I will link that at the end. The second one, where it talks about his nonprofit organization, I think, I've not actually reacted to that one yet. If you guys do want me to react to it, then just drop that in the comments.
But learned it from you. Special Forces are the highest efficiency troop within the Indian Army. It's the soldiers who are psychologically, and I would also argue physically, a cut above the rest because of the kind of extra supplemental training you guys have got, and because of the type of missions that y'all are engaged in. So the internet has learned about Special Forces now, has learned about what para SF is now, which is why I think I'll be able to navigate this conversation much better.
Okay.
Would you like to add anything to the basic definition of Special Forces that I've given?
Yeah. So ultimately, where I what I understood, and that's where the understanding has remained. Also, the crux is basically Special Forces is a mindset, and it develops over a period of time as you go through life. There are so many obstacles. There are emotional play, there is psychological play going on, there's a physical play going on. These experiences happening in various realms, but at the core of it, the human being is the same. The consciousness or whatever is the same, and as we go through life, you step back and you start realizing that Special Forces and these things, it's about being yourself, which is special. Like, everybody is special. There is no human being who has been born before who's exactly like you, thinks like you, talks like you, is experiencing life like you. It's never happened before, and it'll never ever happen again in the eternity of time. You have never happened before, and you're never going to happen again. And that's the case with all life. So everyone is uniquely special, and it's just the realization of that which turns into a mindset over a period of time. Your neural network forms like that, because so many experiences cut करके चलते रहते हैं, and you keep evolving into realizing yourself. And then once you are reaching at that level of understanding, and from there, then you can focus your energy on whichever target, if you may say. So it's just a mindset. And that is what is special in terms of the military Special Forces are concerned. So it's a directed energy, basically. The nation or national security or whatever, it's a form of energy which the government, the armed forces can apply or focus at a certain point, which the government feels is something needs to be sorted out, to make the country a safer place, to make the country a place where people can go about their lives very simply without worrying about what is going to happen tomorrow, whether this nation is going to exist or not. So people go around businesses, people have creative work, right from people who are in villages to people who are in big cities like Bombay and all that. Everybody's operating and living their lives out in a certain environment. That environment is a wished for environment for freedom, and that freedom needs to be protected. So Special Forces is a form of energy which is directed by whoever are the people who take that decision and protect.
I think someone who was or is special forces or operations are the best to actually define what it is. But I do agree it is a kind of efficiency, as Ranveer said. But I also believe it is a mindset and a certain kind of energy that the government can actually use and apply when needed.
I'm going to explain it to the 7-year-olds here.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly what you said. An example of a special forces mission would be you go on the other side of the border, and if there is a group that has to be taken out in stealth silently, only the special forces of India, the para SF, can execute a mission like that silently with minimum casualties on our side. I know some of these sentences piss you off a little bit.
No.
Okay.
I understand, and क्या बोलते हैं, I'll just give my perspective.
Sure.
From the inside, you can give perspective. Special forces, be it para SF, or there are many expressions of special forces depending on, whether it's the Army, Navy, Air Force. There are certain other kinds of special forces also. And the whole idea is creative destruction. You destroy, but creatively. You have certain parameters, and those parameters, every operation has very, very different parameters. Every task has very, very different parameters. So you have an open-ended mandate. You can be basically tasked to do anything, anywhere, anytime. So it's just anything. So the whole idea of creating a force or an energy force, and a directed form of, concise, precise energy, which is trained, equipped, ready to do anything, anywhere, anytime, is what the whole idea is all about. And in this case, it is about national security. It's about how the government, the government's nations have long-term visions about how the nation would progress, and how there will be khushhali hogi. Basically, there will be people can go about their lives without feeling insecure.
Khushhali yogi? What was that exactly?
And therefore live more creative lives, more merged, more collaborative lives, and evolution can happen and things like that. So special forces is just an expression of a form of energy which can be directed to execute certain thing, or to remove certain thing from a matrix which doesn't fit the long-term visions of the government, of the immediate vision or a long-term vision that the government may be having. So people like that are chosen, and then they are trained, and they're equipped, and then they are sent to do whatever, wherever, anywhere, anytime.
Throughout our last conversation, I was constantly afraid about pissing you off. That was because I was just scared that something I would say or something I would ask would have crossed a line. I know I crossed a few lines, and we had to actually take out some snippets from that podcast because it couldn't make its way to the internet.
True.
Because a lot.
So Ranveer makes an excellent point. If you're ever talking to a veteran, you need to tread lightly. You don't know that veteran's experiences, and you don't know if he or she is actually suffering from PTSD. The worst thing that you can ask a veteran is, have you ever shot or killed anyone? That is the kind of question that could trigger bouts of depression, anxiety, nightmares, flashbacks, drug and alcohol binges, or worse. Instead of asking triggering questions like that, ask more neutral questions such as, where did you deploy? What kind of weapon did you carry? And then if the veteran chooses to share more personal information with you, your only job is to listen and to be supportive.
A lot of the nature of the work you do is secret. That's true.
Like I said, anywhere, anything, anytime, in whichever format, depends on what the job needs. On these kind of, it's like a painting, it's like an it's so every operation is different. It's like a masterpiece. Every time you go out, it's a masterpiece. It has, and you have to be in the now, because everything is new. Every operation is different. Every target is different. Every goal is different. Every expression of how things should be is different. So every time you go in, you have to be open-ended, and then see how things as they are, and then do what needs to be done.
In other words, operators need to think on their feet, improvise, adapt, and overcome.
certain previous training that you have certain equipment that you have certain experiences that you have, and all of that comes together, and then you go out and do something that needs to be done.
Okay.
That's it.
I might ask you a question that
Please
you may not answer. And
please feel free.
Okay.
Baki,
All right, sir.
There's no pissing me off.
There's a teammate of yours on Claw right now. Claw is what Sir is doing post his military career. We've covered that in the second episode. Major Ambati,
Yeah.
who guided me a lot before the first podcast with you. And I said that if you were to describe majorJacob in one sentence, how would you describe him? And he said that that's the most battle-hardened soldier that India has right now.
नहीं तो ज़्यादा बोल दिया है तो.
That's your humility.
बहुत लोग हैं. There are so many people, and just because of the nature of what I am doing, I have come out. But there are so many people who have done far more than I have done.
Who's done more than you, and like what is okay, fine, all right.
Yeah. There are lots, like, there are just so many people that I look up to. Some of them are no more, some of them are alive, some of them are still in the service, some are outside the service. But I have met a heck of a lot of people who are way ahead of me in terms of whatever. I have my own thing. I will not say that I was not good at what I was doing. I was, I was what I was, and I am what I am. So yeah, so Major Arun thinking that, and saying I can understand where that is coming from, but then there's just so many people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't like doing this again because I know that movies piss off Special Forces vets.
Like, there
is a movie called Lone Survivor, which Special Forces vet actually spoke about on the show.
Yeah.
He said that if you really want to know the true fucking nature of Special Forces, watch that movie. And I watched that movie, and that movie me up, honestly, a little bit, because it's such a harshly made movie. I saw an interview of the actual guy who survived that particular battle on Joe Rogan.
The book is amazing, and the movie is also awesome.
And Joe Rogan said, was there anything in the movie that was shown in a more extreme way than it actually happened? He said, no, the more extreme things were not shown in the movie. Because it was even worse, and it was such an intense movie to watch. That's the true nature of battle, modern battles, where you might end up losing a teammate, where you might end up losing your fingers because of a bullet, where you might end up, with one of your lungs having collapsed in the middle of a battlefield. But the average civilian from anywhere in the world won't know this. That is the true nature of battle that only Special Forces vets from all over the world probably know, at least the ones who have been a part of battle scenarios. When businessmen have a problem in businesses, again, full of problems just thrown at you. I'm sure you're experiencing that at Claw. If you were to personify the problems that came towards you, every day there's like an enemy you're like fighting, there's a situation you're tackling. But I can't imagine what it's like on the battlefield where something goes wrong and you face some sort of a challenge samne se. My question to you is, what's the biggest challenge you ever faced on a battlefield? Like, has there been a moment, situation, experience that's been extremely challenging where you've had to actually navigate a lot through your own head and physical body to overcome it?
Yeah. I discussed this in the last talk also, but not this perspective that I'll share. The last time we spoke, so I had mentioned that throughout in my service career, I was very, very blessed or very, very lucky, or whichever way you want to look at it. But, always went in, came out unscathed. When I say I, means all the people that we used, the team that would go and do whatever we are supposed to do, we would come out as is, as was, as is, nikalte hain hum bahar. There was one particular, task that we were given, and usme I started the first time, and I had by the time spent more than a decade in my career, and the first time I felt like getting out of the situation where I was in, and nothing had really happened. काम पे लगे हुए थे, बैठे हुए थे, तो and we were I just for the first time, I started feeling uncomfortable in an op. So there was a heck of a lot of mental and heart battle that happened before anything happened. That instinctively I wanted to extract, I wanted to get out, and just kept becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The discomfort became anxiety to a point where, like, I just wanted to get out, and I couldn't think about it. Why do I want to get out? I never wanted to get out. So why am I wanting to get out? Nothing has happened.
You need to give some context again to people who are listening to you for the first time.
So last time we spoke about an op where one of my teammates, he blew up his leg. So he stepped on a mine and his leg blew up. So before that happened, like I said, whoever's blessings are there, but there is someone who was blessing us all the time and was walking. Some energy used to walk with us, and we never made a mistake. So, and I was also completely and always in a flow state. No past, no future, always in the now, always in the now, always in the now. And then that time, after more than a decade, when first time I felt discomfort, and that discomfort over a period of a couple of hours turned into extreme anxiety, and nothing has happened. It's just coming from inside, and one doesn't know why it's happening. And then,
as in, when you say anxiety, your breath became fast, you started sweating.
So it's beyond physical. It has physical expressions where you start maybe sweating, or it's extreme discomfort which is arising from something that your mind can't put a finger on.
And this is after you're an extremely experienced soldier.
Yes.
You've seen
by that time
all sorts of situations, but this one situation.
Yes. So this is the first and last time where I felt where I needed to get out from where I am, and I didn't know why. And then at some point I decided to stick on, because I could not find a logical reason to get out. The only thing I could think of is that I've become lazy, and that's why I want to leave, because where my base is there, there is warm water, because you're in high altitude, and so there are bases where we are, and those bases have warm water, they have chicken, they have old monk, they have this, that, and there's warm blankets and sleeping bags and things, and it's so the only reason I could think of that I want to get out is because I want to go back to that comfortable place. And that's why I'm wanting to go. So basically, then I was analyzing it, because the discomfort kept increasing, and I couldn't find a reason why I'm wanting to get out. So the only thing that I could think of after a couple of hours, and as to why do I want to leave, is because I thought maybe I'm just looking for the comfort that that place offers, my base offers. So then I decided that can't be the reason why I leave. That will not be the reason why I leave. And so I stayed put.
So for context, for those who did not see the first podcast, from what I remember, he was on a mission with his team deep in the mountains. It was about a 2 or 3 day hike back to his home base. And when an experienced combat veteran, Marine, operator, soldier, etc., actually gets a bad feeling about something, it is often a premonition of something bad happening.
And just about some time later, there was an explosion, and this guy lost his leg. And then to get out from it was it's chaos. Basically, you're very, very far away from your base, and there's this guy who's your brother, and he's lost his leg, and he's spurting blood all over the damn place, and you are in a place where you don't want to get caught or get known, that you are there. And then, because you are very few in numbers and things like that, so you want to get out, and then you see that this guy, his basically leg is gone, and it's shit. Chaos has hit, and you're in the wrongest place in the world where you can be, and where the most. So if somebody dies, let's say if somebody dies, there's still options that you have, because he's gone already. But if that guy is alive and is on the verge of going away, and you are the only thing that is you, or how your brain is going to work, and what you're going to do now, is that going to be the difference between his life and his death. and plus legs blowing up. So in the SF, how it is that you prepare for battle, you prepare for in various ways, equipment training, planning, etc., vagera vagera. But you also prepare for fuck-ups, right? What is a fuck-up in an SF environment, in a military environment, in an army environment? A fuck-up is basically, or in the fuck-up is basically getting shot, someone from your team getting shot, maimed, or dying. That's the fuck-up. That's the only kind of fuck-ups which happen, more or less. So at that time, it's like ultimate chaos has descended. You are in the realm of chaos now, the dimension of chaos, and there anything can happen, and everything is out of your control. Now, when everything is chaos, is that only everything is gone to shit, right? So from there, the difference between success and failure, or life and death, is basically what you're going to do now and how you're going to handle it. So at that point of time, when all this was going on and extreme chaos, you're in a place where you shouldn't be, and then the guy is alive and he's on the verge of death. You don't know, he may die in the next minute, he may die in half an hour, you don't know. And you're very, 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 very far away in the middle of mountains in very, very high places, and getting back to base is a long affair. And everything, it's pitch dark, and now you know that the entire place has got mines. There could be anywhere, and if another guy gets hit like this, then it's probably impossible to extract. So at that point of time, when chaos has hit, death is in the air, and to watch and then to be able to extract is probably the most challenging experience that I've had.
Okay.
Operators need to know how to control the chaos.
Did you go into a flow state in order to even fix the problem?
Yeah, there is no other way actually to fix the problem. You have to go into flow state. You have to surrender to the situation. By surrendering comes acceptance. Once acceptance comes, from acceptance comes awareness. With awareness, there comes choices. From choices, you can make that one choice that is going to make the difference between your brother living or dying.
What was the choice?
The choice was to, of course, immediately go into repair mode.
Morphine,
put IV, you replace the blood loss that is happening. You try to stem the flow of the blood. You do your bandaging. You assess the wound. You see how much damage has happened and how best to control or limit the damage so that the time span where this guy is alive is extended till the time you can extract and get him to a place where he can have a proper surgery and things like that.
What was he saying?
Nothing.
He was quiet.
Yeah. So that's one of the most amazing things you get to experience. And the reason why I come out and the reason why I'm speaking here also is because I feel there's one and only one reason why I'm doing all of this, and talking about my past in the SF and all this, because I feel that the experiences that we have had of how to handle chaos, of what to do in situations like these are extreme situations, and everybody goes through a lot of ups and downs, and that's what life is all about, right? Joy, sorrow, chaos, order, this, that, success, failure, vagera vagera. So we face all of this in a very extreme way, where it's simply life and death. It's like if you're in a business and you're doing a business, or ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा, कोई मरेगा तो नहीं ना. Like you may lose money, you may become infamous, or people may not like you, people may judge you, this, that, but nobody's going to come and kill you. Or none of your friends are going to die. Your team is nobody's going to die if you make a mistake. Out there, that's how it is. The SF is, you make a mistake, somebody's going to die. And like worse, somebody might get maimed for life. Death के बाद क्या है, release है. But लाइफ में अगर पैरालाइज हो गए, गोलियां गलत जगह लग गई, बहुत लोग होता है स्पाइनल कॉर्ड में लग जाती हैं, खोपड़ी में लग जाती है, ये हो जाता है. पीपल लूज देयर मेमोरी, दे फॉरगेट हु देयर मदर इज, फादर इज, वाइफ इज, चिल्ड्रन आर.
You've seen that?
Yeah, very much.
TBI.
because of getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
You've been around someone who has gotten.
Yeah.
I was under the. Do you want to explain that situation?
Yeah. So operations, basically there is enemy, there is you, and you are enemy for that person. Enemy is enemy for you. Everybody thinks everybody is enemy, right? So everybody is like looking at each other, and then ops go on, and you go and have established contact with enemy, and sometimes you make mistakes, right? So somebody made some mistake or whatever. You can call it mistake, you can call it experience, whatever. But something happened where basically there was contact, and this guy was a very young soldier, one of the most fantastic soldiers I've met in my life. What a soul, what a lovely soul. I mean, if you meet him out on the street, you will feel yaar, अरे कितना सूफी बंदा है, कितना प्यारा बंदा है. But he's like deadly in combat, built for that. मतलब उसका attitude, soul, वो सब aligned. He's so pure, so open, so this thing that, I mean, he could be a saint and he's a soldier. वाला कहानी है. तो बेसिकली आमना सामना हो गया. कई बार ऐसे ऑपरेशंस में आमना सामना हो जाता है. तो आमना सामना हो गया, you're like in front of, and just everything happens very suddenly, from zero silence where you can just hear some birds and you can just hear the wind in the trees and in the breeze in the leaves, all of that. You're from there, and sudden chaos, sudden thunk, where everything goes to shit. So it happens. So it happened to this young man, and basically he had a head-on contact, and that guy fired first because this guy was in a position of disadvantage, and the bullet basically hit his bulletproof, and like ricocheted off the bulletproof, and the bulletproof collapsed and cracked his skull, and basically his eye popped out.
A helmet.
Yeah.
So there. Okay. Is it like?
It's like a heavy metal ring which you wear over your head.
So every military has its own version of a ballistic helmet. This just happens to be an old school US Army Kevlar, which was replaced in the early 2000s by the Army Combat Helmet, or ACH.
So it hit it and ricocheted or glanced off it, but the impact of the bullet hitting the metal was so much that the metal collapsed itself. So the metal, that heavy metal plate, collapsed and cracked his skull with such impact that his eye popped out and was basically hanging here. And this guy, after that, killed that guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. With the eye popping out.
Yeah. So instant reflex. It's all reflex. So wo ho gaya, and then obviously he was saved. They were able to extract him out, and then he went to hospital, military hospital, got treated. For many months. A very, very handsome boy. So maybe a handsome young man. So not a boy. So this guy was. For many months, he was just going to get married, and he was already engaged, and his mom was there, and in hospital he didn't remember anyone. He just forgot everyone. All his memories got washed out, basically, of his family and things like that, and he didn't know who he is, where he is, who is everyone, what is he doing here.
Amnesia.
So वैसा हो गया था, and many months later, basically, धीरे उसकी memories started bubbling back in, So for many months he was lost. He was just lost, and I met him actually after that. So from being a very slim, all muscle, good soul, happy, हम free time में cricket खेलते थे साथ में and things like that. So I came to meet him. I came back to my unit to meet him, and I sat with him, and just to spend some time with him and see how he's doing. It's like you love your people, So I came back to meet him and see how he's doing and all that, and I just asked him, I wanted to know how much money he has in his wallet. So I asked him for his wallet कि अपना कि पैसा वैसा है तो ठीक है, ये वैसे करके मैंने मैं दिखा अपना वॉलेट दिखा, तेरे पास पैसे कितने हैं. तो मैंने उसका वॉलेट खोला, तो पैसे तो खैर क्या देखा नहीं देखा. I saw photographs. I saw 6-7 photographs of himself, which he had kept inside. So all of those photographs were of the time from before he got shot. So he used to sit and look at his own photographs that earlier I used to look like this and now I look like this. His entire face was disfigured. He lost his eye and this, that, and the engagement broke up. And so many things happened. And, so these are the prices one pays.
So sad. There are too many stories of young men and women who were just cut down in their prime and either killed or injured and their lives ruined. My heart goes out to those soldiers. But if you've not read the book or seen the movie Lone Survivor, it's about Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell and Operation Red Wing. I highly recommend the book and the movie, but please take what he says with a grain of salt. Much of his story has actually been proven false based on evidence as well as eyewitness accounts of villagers. If you go into any YouTube video about Luttrell, you will actually see dozens and dozens of comments that pretty much call him a liar. We will never know exactly what happened on that day. With that being said, I still think that he is a hero that deserves to be respected. Thanks for watching. Once part 2 is up, I'll put it right here.